Hey, what's up, everyone? Your surgical brother Gilo here from the OR Edge. Today, let's talk about the best method for remembering suture. I've heard this question a lot over the years from my students. How in the world am I going to remember all of the different suture and needle combinations there are? The answer is surprisingly simple, and it only requires that you remember two words: suture principles. Here at the OR Edge, I like to try and break down surgery into easy to remember principles that are designed to focus your thoughts when you're nervous or stressed in the OR by getting you to ask yourself questions about what you're seeing. When you get comfy using this method, you won't have to ask yourself many questions at all. Simply saying the phrase suture principles in your head will remind you of all the knowledge you have about suture that you need in that moment. It's kind of like word association. To start using the phrase suture principles effectively, you really only need two things: a basic understanding of suture size and a little bit of common sense. What I mean by that is if you can imagine a line with suture size O in the middle, and to the left are suture sizes 2O, 3O, 4O, and so on, while to the right of the O are suture sizes 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and understand that sutures that end in an O are small, while sutures that start with a single number are big, then you already know almost everything you need to. Now all that's left is what question to ask yourself and the common sense bit. A good question to ask yourself is, where am I working? The location on the body you're working can greatly inform you about both the appropriate suture and needle size, as well as the type of suture material that's common for that area. Finally, the common sense bit is simply recognizing that you wouldn't use a number 5 suture on a huge needle for delicate tissue like an eyelid in the same way you wouldn't use a 6O suture on a small needle to close the deep layers of an abdomen. Did you notice how I only barely touched on suture needles or atramatics? That's because outside of understanding that large needles aren't often used on delicate tissue and vice versa, needle or atraumatic sizes you'll use are often just doctor's preference. All you need to do is pay attention to what suture and needle combinations you see being used around the body to, over time, build up a knowledge base of what's appropriate. There's definitely a lot more to know about suture than we talked about, but now that you're equipped with the technique of using a phrase or a principle to focus your thoughts when you're stressed in order to remind yourself of what you already know and to ask yourself appropriate questions to get the answers you need, my hope is that you'll have a much easier time and be able to progress more quickly in the OR. What method did you use to remember suture? Tell us about it in the comments. And if you found this helpful, share it with another tech. And also, like and subscribe or follow for more surgery principles.